And remember, this attack on proxy war against Russia was undertaken with the blithe assumption that they were going to defeat the Russians and they were going to reduce the Russian economy to, bomb it back to the Stone Age and reduce the ruble to a ruble and all this rhetoric. And essentially, as you may remember, in the fall of 2021, the US, right after two events happened, the Afghanistan withdrawal, which was so ignominious for the United States, and Mrs. Merkel stopping being the Chancellor of Germany. Once these two events were out of the way, the United States essentially began an attempt to reduce Russia essentially into a kind of, force Russia into succumbing, fully confident that Russia would not initiate any kind of military action, but Russia did. And that was the beginning of the unraveling of the American strategy. So that was already happening. But I think essentially what has happened is with the resistance of the Palestinians finally bubbling forth in Gaza, what has happened is that this unraveling of American attempts to dominate the world is unraveling. And this is happening in a number of ways. Number one, it's very clear that the United States, so the first thing is that in a certain sense, the United States pivot to Asia has not worked. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that when the United States decided that it was time to sort of shrug off and shed the commitments and obligations that they have incurred in the Middle East and start focusing on China, that's what they would dearly like to do. That's where they feel the main competitive threat to the United States is coming from. But in a certain sense, this is compelling their attention, their energy, their resources back to the Middle East. It is a Middle East which they do not even control, in the sense that they cannot even control Israel, let alone anybody else. So on the one hand, Israel is essentially acting like a rogue state. The United States is reduced to essentially pleading with Israel, saying, please don't do this and that, only because they know that they are losing the battle of world opinion. So they are pleading with Israel to do this, that, and the other, but they are not succeeding. At the same time, it is not as though, despite all the efforts of the last many decades, they have not been able to bring the Arab countries of the region over to the side of Israel. So essentially what they are looking at is that the Arab countries, while they are not engaging in any military intervention in the situation, but they are also essentially on the side of the Palestinians for one very simple reason. No Arab government, no matter how much they want to cozy up to Israel, can afford the unpopularity that such actions will bring, even if they are quite an authoritarian government.